The story of this anime begins in the art club of a high school, where we meet a second-year student named Mizuki Usami, who is a member of the art club. Beside her, we see someone else. This is how we meet Subaru Uchimaki, who is also in his second year and a member of the art club. According to Mizuki, Subaru seems to have a dream that he wants to achieve at all costs, which appears to be related to drawing anime girls, only 2D girls, and based on that, he wants to create the perfect waifu. Mizuki does not seem to like what Subaru does at all, although Subaru notices this and questions Mizuki about why she dislikes his hobbies, implying that Mizuki has something against 2D girls. These questions from Subaru upset Mizuki, clarifies that as a member of the art club, she cannot allow its members to focus only on drawing otaku-related things. However, we notice that Mizuki seems to feel some attraction towards Subaru. Mizuki realizes what she did to Subaru's drawing and apologizes, but still insists that it is not appropriate to base the art club on drawing otaku-related things. She also points out that Subaru's talent as an artist could be used for more than just otaku drawings. Just then, we see that someone else is in the room, complaining that they are making too much noise and preventing him from sleeping. This is how we meet another member of the club president, but he does not act like a president at all, as he seems to spend most of his time sleeping. Mizuki asks him to draw something since he only sleeps, but the club president simply leaves the room. Just as he exits, someone else enters, the teacher in charge of the art club, Professor Koyama. According to Mizuki, Koyama is a good teacher, but he is the type who avoids trouble. Returning to Subaru, we see that he starts watching a magical girl anime, which he calls research for his art. Seeing that everything remains the same, Mizuki decides to return to her painting. Mizuki wants to focus on her painting, but the constant sound of Subaru's anime prevents her from concentrating, so she asks Subaru to do his research elsewhere. However, the anime ends just at that moment. Since Subaru has finished his research, he notices Mizuki's painting, which is an apple. Subaru thinks there is no point in drawing an apple since you cannot love it, but Mizuki clarifies that love is not necessary to draw an apple. Subaru argues that if you do not have love for your drawing, you cannot create a true work of art. He then suggests that Mizuki turn the apple into a human so that she can feel an emotional attachment to her drawing. Mizuki decides to give Subaru's idea a chance, but the drawing ends up being more unsettling than anything else. Mizuki and Subaru mention that one of the art club members is late. Subaru says he wanted to ask her to be his model for his drawings. Since he has no model, he considers asking Mizuki, but she refuses. It seems that she has already modeled for him in the past, and did not like that when Subaru drew her. Mizuki suggests asking the club president to be his model, but Subaru needs a girl as his model because he requires a specific pose for his drawing, and also wants to see the model constantly. Mizuki gets excited. Since the pose is somewhat suggestive, Mizuki gets more comfortable and starts modeling for Subaru. She wants to do her best for Subaru, but Subaru finds her efforts amusing as he does not seem attracted to 3D girls. However, this does not seem to bother Mizuki since she sees Subaru happy. Just then, the club president appears with a camera, revealing that he has been watching everything, and he leaves the two alone. Subaru begins drawing, and to our surprise, when Subaru draws, he has a professional look on his face, which Mizuki seems to like. After drawing for some time, Subaru finishes and states that he has drawn Mizuki exactly as she is. This excites Mizuki, who eagerly looks at the drawing, only to find that it is another waifu and not even the same pose she had done. Subaru insists that he paid attention to the details, pointing out that the thighs are exactly like Mizuki's. Turns out that the club president had given him the camera, which contained pictures of Mizuki. Seeing this, Mizuki chases after the club president to beat him up. Subaru is left alone in the club and, on the camera, finds one more picture of Mizuki, so he starts drawing her with a smile on his face. Just then, Mizuki returns with the club president, who is covered in blood from the beating she gave him. Before leaving, Subaru gives Mizuki the notebook where he drew her, which we see Mizuki opening at home. Back at the art club, Subaru wants to ask Mizuki something. We see Subaru confessing his feelings to Mizuki, but it turns out to be just Mizuki's imagination, as Subaru was actually talking about his new waifu drawing, believing that he has finally created the perfect waifu. Mizuki feels disappointed in herself for getting her hopes up and decides to keep drawing. Meanwhile, Subaru explains his drawing, indicating that he designed it with the key traits of a perfect 2D wife. Mizuki is not interested at all in Subaru's explanation, but enjoys seeing him speak so seriously and passionately. Mizuki asks Subaru what he will do once he finishes his drawing, and Subaru replies that he will leave the art club when he completes his perfect waifu. Mizuki reacts with surprise, not expecting this answer. Subaru explains that it is for the best, as Mizuki had said before that the art club is not a place for otaku-related drawings. Mizuki knows she said that, but she does not want Subaru to leave. She is about to tell him something, but embarrassment overcomes her, and she ends up pushing him toward the club president. Mizuki talks about Subaru with the club president. They both agree that Subaru has a lot of talent in drawing, and that if he really wanted to, he could make a career out of it. However, Subaru's only goal in drawing was to create the perfect 2D wife. Mizuki is obviously sad about Subaru's departure. When she arrives at the art club, she realizes that Subaru is putting away his drawing. Subaru says he is tired and will continue tomorrow, finishing the drawing in his best condition. Noticing Mizuki's sadness, Subaru jokingly tells her that he will invite her to his wedding when he marries his 2D waifu. Mizuki realizes that Subaru will never notice her no matter how much time they spend together, and she has known this for a long time. Mizuki remembers the first time she met Subaru when he was being interviewed to join the art club. As expected, Subaru gave very direct answers about his goals, stating that he wanted to draw the perfect 2D wife. With that kind of response, the club president accepted Subaru, and things turned out as they are now. Mizuki and Subaru seem to have the same route home, so they walk together. Mizuki has many thoughts about Subaru in her head, so she decides to talk to him. At first, she hesitates to say what she wants to say. Subaru asks if she feels sad knowing that he will leave the club. Hearing this, Mizuki wants to tell him what she truly thinks, but Subaru clarifies that he was just joking. However, for Mizuki, it is not a joke, as she unconsciously starts crying and cannot stop. At home, Mizuki is extremely embarrassed about what happened and regrets only crying and not saying anything. The next day at school, Mizuki is too embarrassed to look at Subaru, but gathers her courage and enters the art club. Subaru is there, and the atmosphere is obviously awkward. Mizuki approaches to see Subaru's drawing, only to find it blank. Subaru says he already finished the drawing he had mentioned and is now making another one. He also states that he will stay in the art club. Mizuki is angry since she cried over the fact that Subaru would leave, but Subaru explains that he changed his mind because of Mizuki. He says that Mizuki's tears changed his idea of the perfect wife, so now he will try to draw waifus crying. This does not bother Mizuki, as Subaru will still be in the club. Mizuki is on her way to the art club, although we see that someone else is with her. This is how we are introduced to Kaori Ayase. We also see that two other girls are with them, Sayaka Honda and Ryoko Kunagawa. Sayaka mentions that the horoscope says the best way to create lasting love is by confessing in a club. In the art club, Subaru accidentally spills a bucket of paint. This causes the club president to wake up, and he tells Subaru that if he didn't paint anything, there wouldn't be accidents. The club president tries to go back to sleep but accidentally hits something, and Mizuki's painting falls into the spilled paint. From a distance, they hear Mizuki and her friends approaching, so they must do something to fix the mess they made. Subaru says he will do his best to distract Mizuki, so the club president must fix what happened. Subaru stands at the door. Mizuki finds it strange that Subaru is waiting for her at the door, so she forces her way into the club. Inside, they are met with what looks like a crime scene, as the club president had no better idea than to lie on top of Mizuki's painting and pretend that the red paint was blood. Mizuki obviously realizes this and scolds them, saying they shouldn't joke about things like that. However, since Mizuki's painting must not be discovered, Subaru continues acting as if a crime took place there. Mizuki refuses to play along, stating that she must finish her painting since she will present it in a competition the next day. If she presents her painting, the art club will be able to continue its activities and will no longer be dismantled. With all this information revealed, Subaru and the president realize they made a huge mistake. Mizuki asks about her painting, and Subaru gives her a false location to buy some time. Subaru asks the president what they will do, but neither of them has a viable idea. Mizuki keeps searching for her painting, and when she realizes that her underwear is showing, she trips and falls, but Subaru manages to catch her, just like in a movie scene. Mizuki starts imagining many things, but Subaru's arms give out, and they both fall on top of the president, who is in pain because Mizuki's painting is poking him. Mizuki hears them mention her painting, and the truth can no longer be hidden. The painting appears covered in red paint. Since Mizuki's painting can no longer be sent to the competition, they will have to send another drawing, so one of Subaru's paintings must be submitted instead. When the competition results are announced, we see that Subaru's painting, a geeky drawing, managed to secure second place. Mizuki is at a sleepover with her friends. Kaori starts asking about Mizuki's feelings for Subaru, since in a girl's sleepover, it is normal to talk about love. Mizuki does not want to talk about it because she is embarrassed, but after a bit of pressure, she finally gives in. Mizuki explains that, at first, she didn't get along with Subaru at all since he was a complete disaster when doing things, as well as very absent-minded, so much so that he would waste the club's paints, forcing Mizuki to get more supplies. The club president sent Subaru with Mizuki because there were rumors that someone was causing trouble in the area. Mizuki and Subaru head out to buy paint and other supplies for the club. Along the way, they run into Professor Koyama, who asks them to be careful. Mizuki and Subaru buy everything needed for the club. Out of nowhere, a woman approaches them, asking if they have seen a little girl nearby. That is how we learn that a child has gone missing. The woman asks for their help in finding her, and we learn the missing girl's name, Mocha. Subaru and Mizuki spend the afternoon looking for Mocha. Just when they are about to give up, they see a child in the distance who appears to be Mocha, but someone else is with her, a small girl wearing a mask. Mizuki approaches to take Mocha, stating that she knows her mother, but the masked girl won't let them take her, as she believes that Mizuki and Subaru are the ones causing trouble in the area. This causes Mocha to become scared and refuse to go with Mizuki. Just then, an announcement is heard in the distance, stating that children should return home. Upon hearing this, the masked girl leaves the area. Mocha is now alone, but she still does not want to go with Mizuki. Seeing the situation, Subaru decides to use a notebook they bought and starts drawing. Subaru shows the drawing to Mocha. It is a picture of her mother. With that proof, Mocha trusts Subaru and Mizuki. That is how we see that, from that moment, Mizuki has been in love with Subaru. At the art club, Subaru has received a love letter. Somehow, we understand that Subaru is somewhat popular and well-regarded, but his tastes are very different from those of others. The club president states that Subaru is blessed to be pursued by many women, although Subaru does not understand this, as he has only received one love letter. The club president is about to mention Mizuki, but he passes out after receiving a hit from Mizuki. Subaru explains that he brought the love letter to ask what he should do with it, so he asks Mizuki if she has ever written a love letter in the past, to which Mizuki embarrassedly denies it, though she clarifies that she will write one in the future. Returning to the topic, Mizuki clarifies that he should respond to the letter out of respect for the person who wrote it. Subaru is certain that he wants nothing to do with 3D girls, so he is determined to reject the love letter outright. However, Mizuki asks him to soften his response a bit, so Mizuki helps Subaru craft a proper rejection. Subaru meets with the girl who wrote the letter and follows Mizuki's instructions to the letter. Meanwhile, we see that Mizuki and the club president are spying on the situation. However, everything turns into a disaster when the girl asks if there is someone else that Subaru likes. She comes to the conclusion that the person must be Mizuki, since she is always by his side. However, Subaru denies this outright, leaving Mizuki, who is secretly listening, disappointed. On the way home, Subaru thanks Mizuki for her help. Mizuki is relieved that nothing has changed. Out of nowhere, Subaru stops in the middle of the road, staring at a girl in the distance. Subaru states that she is very beautiful, clarifying that he fell in love at first sight. Mizuki remembers that Subaru's drawings are basically of little girls, implying that he has a lolicon complex. However, Subaru completely denies it, as we realize that Subaru was only looking at the girl's necklace, meaning he was actually fixated on a waifu. Meanwhile, we see that the girl arrives home, where it is revealed that the girl Subaru rejected is actually the sister of the girl he just saw. Subaru arrives at the art club and is surprised to find that no one is there. However, as he settles into paint, he begins to hear strange noises behind the sofa. There, we see that a girl was hiding. This is how we meet Colette, the missing member of the art club. We learn that Colette is a foreigner but was raised in Japan from a young age. She is currently living alone and is the most recent member of the art club. Returning to the fact that Colette was behind the sofa, she explains that she was looking for a medallion and asks Subaru for help in finding it. Since Colette said the medallion is very important, Subaru decides to help her, although Colette is the type of girl who gets distracted by everything, which causes them to take a while searching for the medallion. Subaru and Colette arrive at the lost and found area. Although they find something that belongs to Mizuki, they do not manage to find the medallion. Subaru asks Colette to recall everything she did during the day so they can retrace her steps. However, since Colette did many things, she does not remember exactly what she did or where she was. Just then, Mizuki arrives, looking for her pendant, which Colette has. Mizuki learns about the situation but cannot stay to help because she has many things to do. Before leaving, she takes out a bracelet that belongs to the club president, saying that he dropped it and asking them to return it to him when they get back to the club. Back at the club, Subaru thinks that everything is escalating. When they return something to Mizuki, they receive the president's bracelet. So if they return the bracelet to the president, they might receive something in exchange. It could even be the medallion they get in return. However, when they give the bracelet back to the president, he has no medallion to offer. Subaru explains the situation to the club president, but the president has not seen anything that looks like a medallion. Colette does not know what else to think and comes to the conclusion that her medallion was stolen. The suspects, Subaru and the club president, but just as she is about to accuse them, she puts her hands in her pockets and realizes that the medallion was there the whole time. Since Colette does not want the others to be mad at her after helping her search, she tries to pretend she hasn't found anything, but Subaru and the club president quickly realize that the medallion was always in Colette's pocket. Since she has been found out, all she can do is apologize for making them search in vain. However, the boys do not mind the search since they are happy that Colette has found her medallion. But when they see what's inside the medallion, they find that it is just a photo of Colette. At the art club, Colette arrives early and is very bored while waiting. Seeing that her shoe has fallen off, she starts playing with it. After a while, Subaru arrives. Meanwhile, we see that Mizuki is also on her way to the club, and when she enters, she finds Colette. Someone is on the sofa, and Mizuki assumes it is the club president, but the president is standing right next to her. That leaves Subaru, who is mentally blocked because he does not know what to draw, and this depresses him. Subaru explains that when he was drawing his new waifu, he ran out of ideas for what hairstyle to give her. Mizuki suggests a hairstyle, which happens to be her current hairstyle, but Subaru knows nothing about hairstyles. Colette tries to help but only ends up confusing Subaru even more. The group go home, but we see that Subaru is still depressed because he does not know what to draw. This somehow torments Mizuki, so she goes to a bookstore. The next day at the art club, Mizuki gives Subaru a magazine with different types of female hairstyles. Subaru is very grateful because now he finally knows what to do. Mizuki gets ready to return to the art club, but just then, Kaori invites her to go out. Mizuki declines because she has to draw something for an upcoming art competition. Sayaka and Ryoko arrive and tell her that she should enjoy her youth. The girls decide to go with Mizuki to the art club, though Mizuki thinks nothing good will come of it. However, after much insistence from the others, she agrees. At the art club, Subaru is inside and is surprised to see Mizuki's friends. Kaori introduces herself and thanks Subaru for taking care of Mizuki from now on. Ryoko explains that they are only there to hang out. Subaru clarifies that this is not a problem since Colette and the club president are hanging out on the school rooftop. Kaori asks if they can draw something since they are in the art club. They make it seem like drawing would be a competition, but in reality, it was just a trick by Kaori to get Subaru and Mizuki to sit together so they could draw them. After some problems and some time drawing, we see that the only good drawings are from Ryoko and Sayaka, as Kaori's is horrible. Since it was also a competition, Kaori loses and has to buy drinks for the others. Kaori returns with the drinks, but when she hands one to Subaru, we see that he does not like it. Kaori switches drinks, offering him the one she was already drinking. Mizuki realizes that if Subaru drinks from Kaori's drink, it would be like an indirect kiss. However, Subaru does not care and is about to drink it. At the last moment, Mizuki snatches it away and drinks it all herself. Not wanting to be left behind, Subaru grabs Mizuki's drink and finishes it completely, thus having an indirect kiss with Mizuki, although Subaru does not realize it. After school, Mizuki is happy that her friends went to the art club because, thanks to that, she got closer to Subaru. However, the next day, we see that Sayaka publishes an article in the school newspaper about the danger of public morality, naming Mizuki and Subaru as the main perpetrators. At school, we see someone new in the teacher's office, the teacher Yumeko Takabana. We also see Professor Koyama. We find out that from that moment on, Yumiko will be in charge of the art club, which makes her very nervous. Yumiko explains that she took over the art club because Koyama will now be in charge of the journalism club. Yumeko arrives at the art club, and the first thing she encounters is Colette, who makes an entrance that is not so normal for Koyama. Koyama recognizes Colette because he studied the names of the members. Yumeko introduces herself as the person in charge of the art club, but Colette knows that the one in charge is Professor Koyama, so she starts thinking the worst about Yumeko and runs away from the place. Yumeko thinks that Colette ran away because she didn't accept her as the person in charge of the club, which makes her even more nervous and sad, but she still has to enter the art club. Inside the art club, Mizuki, Subaru, and the club president are present. Yumeko tries to make the best impression and is welcomed by Mizuki, who already knew about the new person in charge, and it seems that the others also knew. Mizuki asks Yumeko if she would like to stay and see what the club's work is like, to which Yumeko happily agrees. Yumeko stays to observe, and the first thing she sees is the club president sleeping, which makes her think he is a delinquent. However, she changes her mind when she sees that Subaru and Mizuki are very focused on drawing. But everything falls apart when Subaru takes a life-size waifu out of the locker and introduces it to Yumeko as his wife. This makes Yumeko think that the club has both a pervert and a delinquent. Overwhelmed by everything she thinks about the club, Yumeko leaves. The members realize that something is wrong, so they want to solve the problem. They forcibly wake up the club president to bring Yumeko back. Mizuki assigns the club president to talk to Yumeko to make her feel like part of the club. To everyone's surprise, the club president is actually very good at talking to people. After a while, Mizuki and Subaru finish their drawings. Yumeko wants to see the drawings, and when she does, she realizes that they were drawing her, a way to welcome the new person in charge of the art club. We find out that Koyama had planned the drawing surprise and that the members agreed to it. To conclude the welcome, Yumeko gives a speech of gratitude and expresses her desire to work with them. Meanwhile, Colette is on the street and seems to be playing a game where she must not step into the sunlight. Just then, a little girl we already know, Mocha, arrives. Colette explains her game to Mocha and then says goodbye. We see that Mocha is now drawing and is waiting for her mother. Mocha and her mother are walking down the street, and Mocha explains the rule of the game that Colette told her. Her mother plays along. We learn that Mocha is on her way to see her grandfather, and that when she grows up, she wants to be part of the art club. Thanks to Mocha's mother, we find out that Mocha's grandfather was the person in charge of an art club. Meanwhile, Colette continues playing and by accident runs into the club president. At home, Mizuki is about to sleep and starts dreaming of romantic scenes with Subaru. But just then, her mother arrives to wake her up, saying that someone named Subaru is on the phone. Mizuki quickly grabs the phone and starts talking to Subaru, but first, she pushes her mother out of the room. Understanding her daughter, her mother leaves. We find out that Subaru called to let Mizuki know that he accidentally took her notebook and that he will go to her house to return it. Mizuki is not ready for this, so she puts on a dress to look presentable. Her mother notices this and realizes that she is doing it for Subaru. Just then, the doorbell rings and Mizuki goes to receive Subaru. Subaru acts very formally because when he turns around, we see that Mizuki's mother is attentively watching what is happening. Mizuki prefers to talk to Subaru in the garden. Subaru takes out Mizuki's notebook and apologizes again for the mistake and for disturbing her while she was sleeping. Mizuki clarifies that since she took a bath, she felt sleepy but wasn't actually sleeping. Subaru comments that this is why she smells very nice. Subaru says goodbye, but before he leaves, Mizuki stops him and asks for his phone number in case something like today happens again. Subaru has no problem with this, which makes Mizuki very happy. Colette is playing in the club, although Subaru and Mizuki want to paint. Colette looks at Mizuki's drawing and realizes that it is a very good piece of work, whereas Subaru's work, as always, completely changes the appearance. Subaru steps out for a moment to buy something, and Mizuki wants to go with him. However, Subaru does not want to leave Colette alone, so he asks her if she will go with them. Colette indicates that she is fine staying in the club, making it clear that she is giving Mizuki space to work on her relationship with Subaru. Colette stays alone in the club and looks again at what she was playing with, so she starts painting it to get it more life. However, she realizes that Subaru and Mizuki were using it for their painting, so she decides to hide it and, at the same time, flees from the club. Just as Colette runs away, Yumeko arrives at the club and notices the drawings of the others, even stamping an approval seal on Subaru's drawing. She also notices several books on the floor and a box beside them. Yumeko opens the box and finds the head that Colette was painting. Because of how it was painted, Yumeko thinks it is a real head and faints at the sight. Mizuki and Subaru arrive at the art club and find Yumeko unconscious. Mizuki goes to get help from a teacher, leaving Subaru to provide immediate first aid. Since Subaru has no experience giving first aid, he remembers seeing a scene like this in one of his mangas. He resumes his search and finds that the way to save the teacher in the manga was through mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. The club president is arriving at the club, and the first thing he sees is Subaru attempting to kiss the teacher, so he hides. Meanwhile, we see Colette returning to the club as she feels guilty for painting the sculpture's head. The club president takes Colette away and tries to explain what he saw, but Colette completely misunderstands, thinking it is about the sculpture's head. The club president also misinterprets everything and assumes that Colette is responsible for Yumeko and Subaru about to kiss. Both come to very different conclusions, leading to very different consequences. Just then, Mizuki arrives, bringing Professor Koyama. Mizuki asks if they saw what happened in the art club, and since Colette and the club president have entirely different ideas about what is going on, Mizuki wants to go with the art club, but the club president stops her. Somehow, they start piecing things together as each of them tells their own version of the story. Professor Koyama understands the situation, and they all head to the art club. Meanwhile, we see Subaru regretting wanting to kiss Yumeko. However, Yumeko wakes up and Mizuki arrives at the club, immediately asking Subaru if he gave Yumeko mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. After a long explanation of everything, all problems are resolved, including the issue of the painted head, as Colette takes responsibility for it. In the art club, Mizuki is working on a new painting, although the club president seems uneasy. He explains that he asked Subaru to do something important before Colette arrives. Mizuki tells him he can call Subaru on his phone, which surprises the club president as he didn't expect Mizuki to have Subaru's number. He even teases her because she has saved Subaru's name in her contacts without his last name, which is unusual in Japan. Mizuki gets very embarrassed and asks him not to say anything to Subaru, but it is useless since Subaru arrives at the club with the things the club president asked for. Colette also arrives at the club, so the club president's plan begins. We see that he asked Subaru to buy magic-related items for a game and to perform a ritual for Colette, allowing her to be reborn. Although Colette seems to go along with it, the ritual is completed, and the only thing that changes is that Colette now has a pigeon's head. The club president presents her as Miss Pigeon, a symbol of peace for humanity. Mizuki and Subaru continue painting and begin talking about an upcoming art contest, but they soon forget about it as Colette keeps pretending to be a pigeon. Just then, Yumeko arrives at the club to inform them about an upcoming activity. The next day, we see that the activity involves cleaning the school's pool. However, it does not seem too bad, as Colette thinks of it as a day at the beach. The club president arrives to check how things are going, and Subaru asks about Yumeko. We then see that Yumeko has a good pair of reasons for being late, or good pair of reasons to not fit into her swimsuit. Since Yumeko hasn't arrived yet, the club president takes charge and brings paint from the art club, announcing that they will use the school pool as a giant canvas. At first, the others hesitate, but it seems like it could be fun, so they decide to try it. The art club starts painting everywhere and has a great time unleashing their creativity all over the place. After a while, we see that the painting turned out very well, so they take some photos to remember the moment. Later, the club president orders them to start cleaning, so they get to work, only to realize something very important: the paint won't come off with water. The club president knows he messed up, so he decides to turn into a pigeon to escape the problem. Meanwhile, we see that Yumeko has finally managed to fit her two big reasons into her swimsuit and is arriving to help them. At home, we see Mizuki talking on the phone with Subaru. Subaru only talks about manga and anime, but that does not bother Mizuki since she gets to talk with Subaru, although she has to hang up soon because she has other things to do. Mizuki is getting ready to go to school and is happier than usual since she was able to talk with Subaru the night before. Just then, we see Ryoko and Sayaka arrive, so they go to school together. At school, Kaori warns Mizuki to be careful because the news said that Mizuki's zodiac sign will have bad luck that day. Kaori insists since a new student is joining Subaru's class and she is very beautiful. In Subaru's class, we meet Maria and Mary. The entire class is excited about the new student since she is stunning, but Subaru does not understand any of that because he is only interested in 2D girls. Just then, the teacher gives Maria the seat next to Subaru. Subaru is still thinking about the charm of 3D women and absent-mindedly strikes an anime pose. Maria notices it and mentions it to Subaru, letting us know that Maria is a geek, just like Subaru. After class, Maria is approached by the students in Subaru's class, although Subaru has no interest in her. Meanwhile, Kaori keeps insisting that Mizuki should check on Subaru as something might have happened with a new student, but Mizuki is completely sure that nothing will happen. However, after seeing various objects break, signs of bad omens, she starts to doubt. Maria steps out with Subaru for a bit since being surrounded by so many people is exhausting. Subaru asks why she wanted to go out with him, to which Maria recites a line from a manga that Subaru recognizes. This leads to a conversation about manga and anime, completely confirming that Maria is a geek. Meanwhile, we see Mizuki looking for Subaru, but she finds out that Subaru left with Maria. Mizuki thinks nothing will happen between Subaru and Maria, but she unintentionally overhears them and realizes that Subaru and Maria have great chemistry. They even make a friendship pledge by shaking hands, which hurts Mizuki since, the first time she wanted to be friends with Subaru, he refused to shake her hand. Subaru returns to class and is told that Mizuki was looking for him. However, since it is time for class, he cannot go see Mizuki. Just before class starts, Maria asks Subaru for a favor, wondering if they can meet after school. In the art club, we see Mizuki completely defeated for the first time, lying on the club's sofa. The club president and Colette do not know what to do, but just then, Subaru arrives, wanting to know what's wrong with Mizuki and also have asked why she was looking for him in his class. Subaru starts asking questions, but Mizuki does not say anything. She feels angry, so she throws a pillow at Subaru's face. Naturally, Subaru retaliates, leading to a pillow fight between them. They only stop after destroying the club president's pillow. With things calmed down, Mizuki apologizes to Subaru, and Subaru also apologizes. Mizuki explains why she was looking for him in his class. Since her backpack charm broke, she wanted Subaru to go with her to buy a new one. Subaru has no problem with that, so they head to the school's exit, where Maria is waiting for Subaru. Subaru introduces them to each other and suggests they all go together since they're heading to the same place. Mizuki, however, wanted to go out alone with Subaru. The three arrive at their destination. Maria is amazed by all the things in the store, and Subaru plays along with her excitement. Mizuki realizes that Maria and Subaru simply get along because they share the same interests, even their weirdest taste of the same. Subaru finds a charm for Mizuki, but upon learning the truth about it, Mizuki throws it at Subaru. Maria notices that Mizuki and Subaru are very close, so she asks if they are dating. Mizuki immediately and embarrassedly denies it, and Subaru also denies it, leading Maria to jokingly say that she is interested in dating Subaru. With everything bought, the three are on their way back to school when they come across a child who wants to retrieve his balloon, which is stuck somewhere high up. Subaru cannot reach it, so he asks Mizuki to climb onto his shoulders. Mizuki refuses because she is wearing a skirt. Since Mizuki won't do it, Subaru asks Maria instead. This makes things even worse for Mizuki, so in the end, she agrees to climb on Subaru's shoulders. Mizuki struggles to get onto Subaru's shoulders to grab the balloon, but it is no use. They still cannot reach it. Maria says she can try and thinks she can reach it by jumping. She takes a running start, and to everyone's surprise, she jumps really high and catches the balloon, revealing that Maria is very athletic. With the problem solved, Mizuki in some way accepts Maria, but not completely. The next drawing contest is near. Yumeko places her hopes on Mizuki and Subaru, wishing for them to win and, if possible, to work together since their talents can shine if they complement each other. Mizuki is thinking a lot about how to balance her school life and club activities to be able to paint. She is also excited since she will be working with Subaru, but Subaru does not feel the same way. He wishes Mizuki the best but clarifies that the last time he participated was because he had no choice, and his 2D wives are not meant to be shared with the public. Mizuki tries a bit of reverse psychology to make Subaru agree to help, but Subaru does not care about anything Mizuki says. In the middle of their discussion, someone walks past them and asks if they are members of the art club. Hearing Subaru's name, this person asks if he is the one who won second place in the previous drawing contest, mocking Subaru by saying he only won by pure luck since a nerdy drawing has no chance of being among the best. Mizuki obviously gets angry at these comments, but Subaru does not care. However, the stranger challenges them, stating that the upcoming art contest will determine who places first, him as an individual or the art club. Mizuki, out of pure anger, accepts the bet. At the art club, the club president finds out what happened. Mizuki finally calms down and decides to compete against the stranger. Subaru also decides to participate since Mizuki somehow got mad on his behalf. Mizuki buys supplies to work on her painting, but on her way to the art club, she hears someone talking. Upon entering the room, she realizes it's Yumeko, who is practicing alone to give a motivational speech to encourage the members. Mizuki sees Yumeko's effort and promises that she will win. In the art club, Subaru has already started drawing, but he has taken off his shirt because of the heat. Mizuki tells him to take better care of his belongings since she does not want to act like a mother. However, Subaru clarifies that given their age, Mizuki would be more like his wife than his mother. This obviously embarrasses Mizuki so much that she once again imagines a future where she and Subaru are married. Returning to the drawing, Subaru has finished the sketch of his artwork. Looking at it, we see that it is a waifu in lingerie. Subaru explains that he later adds clothes to them, stating that even giving underwear to the character makes them deeper and more sentimental. However, Subaru changes the subject as he had asked Mizuki to bring something. Mizuki then presents a gothic Lolita cosplay. Subaru wants her to wear it. Mizuki obviously does not want to, but she does it for the sake of art and for Subaru. The outfit fits Mizuki perfectly, even Subaru says so. Subaru asks her to pose like his sketch so he can progress with his drawing. Meanwhile, Mizuki starts to enjoy the clothing a little, as if she were someone else. However, the moment is ruined when she accidentally ends up revealing her underwear to Subaru. Subaru continues drawing tirelessly. Mizuki helps in any way she can, as do the other members. We also see that Yumeko continues to work hard on her motivational speech. Many days passed, and finally the contest day arrives. Their efforts were not in vain, as Subaru's painting takes first place. Everyone congratulates Subaru, but Subaru knows he didn't do it alone, so he adds Mizuki's name to the first place artwork. Colette finds it strange that Mizuki and Subaru work together and tries to remember why they put so much effort into winning, but she does not recall the reason. Meanwhile, the unknown student does not win in any category of the art contest. Colette is in the art club, deeply focused on a career guidance form that asks about her future plans after finishing high school. Colette does not seem to know what to write. Just then, the club president wakes up and sees what Colette writes at the last moment. Her future goal is to become a heroine. The club president knows that is not very realistic, so he advises her to take it seriously. Even the club president wrote something more practical, like wanting to work at a mattress company in the future. Mizuki also arrives at the club and learns about the situation. The president wants her to give Colette advice, but Mizuki seems reluctant to share what she wrote on her own career form. However, after much pressure, Mizuki finally responds that she wants to be a wife in the future. Colette and the club president laugh at Mizuki's answer, but Mizuki replies that wanting to be a heroine is even more childish than wanting to be a wife. This upsets Colette, who runs away from the room. Just then, Subaru arrives, wanting to know what's going on. Later, Colette, now angry, heads to the school rooftop, where she encounters Maria standing in the middle of the area. Curious, Colette approaches her, and we see that Maria actually has Chunadview, 8th grade syndrome. Since Colette believes everything she is told, she starts thinking that Maria is a real heroine. So much so that she asks Maria to be her master and teach her the ways of a hero. Maria does not know what to say, so she asks why Colette wants to be one. Colette explains what happened in her club. Maria understands and tells her that to become a heroine, the first thing she must do is reconcile with her friends. Colette understands and immediately goes to apologize, leaving Maria feeling proud of herself as a good teacher. The next day, Colette also starts acting as if she has Chunadview, but that does not matter because she is made up with Mizuki again. In the art club, everyone is doing what they always do, but Mizuki cannot concentrate on drawing because the head she is painting is too weird to draw properly. Mizuki asks the club president if they can buy another head, but the budget was spent on buying a new pillow to replace the one they had broken previously. However, the president mentions that there is a storage room in the club that hasn't been used in years. There might be an unpainted head there. So they decide to ask Professor Koyama for the key, as the storage room is very old. Subaru and Mizuki force their way into the storage room since the place is very old. Even the lights do not work, so they need to hurry and search while there's still daylight. As they start looking, they find many interesting things and, without realizing it, get distracted by them. The club president arrives and tells them that he is leaving, asking them to lock the place when they finish. However, before that, he closes the door so they can search more peacefully. Mizuki starts feeling hot in the room and wants to open the door, but now it is completely stuck. She asks Subaru to open it, but he cannot do it either, meaning they are now locked inside. This is not a good situation for Mizuki, who starts feeling embarrassed about being so close to Subaru. Just then, we see someone outside the room. It is Colette. Seeing that the door is locked, she decides to leave. Since she is listening to music, she does not hear Subaru shouting for help. It's getting late and everyone is going home, so Subaru thinks that, in the worst case scenario, they might have to spend the night in the room. Mizuki starts feeling cold, so Subaru hugs her to share warmth, making Mizuki happy. But once again, it was just another of Mizuki's fantasies. In reality, Subaru is looking for ways to escape. Mizuki is extremely embarrassed since things could turn romantic, or so she imagines. Subaru notices this and thinks Mizuki is scared, so he comforts her by pulling out an anime figure. This makes Mizuki burst out laughing uncontrollably since the situation was getting too serious. They then realize that the anime figure can light up, so they decide to use it to get the attention of the teacher on duty. On the other hand, we see that the teacher on duty is Yumeko, who is terrified of the dark. However, she notices the light coming from Mizuki's classroom. Approaching fearfully, she sees the glowing face of the anime figure and faints in the middle of the hallway. Mizuki and Subaru hear a noise outside and start calling for help, but Yumeko is unconscious and does not hear them. Subaru continues searching and finds a picture of the old art club. They realize that behind all the piled up items, there's a door. Mizuki and Subaru manage to pass through the door, which leads back to the art club. However, as they try to leave, they find Yumeko passed out. The next day, we see that the head they brought from the other room was also painted. With the discovery of the new room in the art club, Subaru brings Maria since he found a lot of manga to read. Maria thinks the storage room is a great place to read, and Subaru gives her permission to come anytime. However, Mizuki does not like this. Maria and Subaru are too noisy, and on top of that, she feels jealous. She goes to tell them to be quiet, but this only makes things worse because now she has no idea what Maria and Subaru are doing in the storage room. As Maria holds a manga, something falls. It is an envelope labeled Treasure Map. Mizuki reads the envelope, and we learn that the former art club members buried a treasure somewhere in the school for future members. Subaru and Maria want to search for the treasure, thinking that this way, Mizuki will be able to focus on what she is doing. But Mizuki says it is her break time, so she will search for the treasure too. Mizuki leads the way, and all the clues are riddles. The first one is solved by Maria, which leads them to the boys' bathroom. Subaru enters to find the next clue and discovers it on the garden floor. The third clue is found by Maria. It is a letter. The last clue is solved by Mizuki, as it relates to the art world, something only an art club member would know. They reach the treasure's location, and it is time to dig. After a long time of digging, digging, they finally unearth a metal box. The guys decide to divide the treasure between them. Upon opening it, they find nothing but +18 content, the greatest treasure in history. Maria and Colette are on a mission to find a magic book. Just then, Yumeko arrives and asks the girls what they are doing. Since Yumeko is a good teacher, she decides to play along. In the art club, Subaru and the club president are alone. There are no women around, so the club president wants to see the treasure they found the previous day. Obviously, Mizuki didn't want the book to stay in the club, but due to the club president's insistence, they ended up keeping it. Now the question is which of the two men in the club will take it home? Just then, Mizuki arrives and finds them fighting over the book. After a brief explanation, they decide to throw the book away to avoid problems. However, they hear approaching footsteps, Yumeko's. The club president manages to hide with the book, and for now, they are safe. Yumeko mentions what Colette told her, explaining that they are looking for a very dangerous book. She even says its name, which, coincidentally, is very similar to the name of the erotic book they found. This creates a complete misunderstanding among them. Yumeko remembers that there are several books in storage, so she decides to look there. Meanwhile, the club president successfully gives the book to Mizuki and Subaru. Mizuki and Subaru run through the hallways, but there are several obstacles such as teachers and Mizuki's friends. In the end, they manage to reach the exit, but there, like a final boss, stands Colette. Maria arrives just then as well. Colette explains that she and Maria are looking for a book, and she notices that Subaru is hiding one. She tries to take it from him by force. Mizuki explains to Maria that the book Subaru is hiding is the treasure book, so everyone tries to stop Colette. But it's too late, the book falls to the ground, and Colette picks it up. Things get worse when Yumeko arrives and sees the erotic book in Colette's hands. Yumeko asks about the book, and Colette clarifies that Subaru had it, so Subaru takes all the blame. Subaru is walking through the school hallways and once again encounters the unknown student from before. However, Subaru doesn't remember him. Feeling insulted that he was forgotten, the unknown student challenges Subaru again. After much insistence, Subaru finally agrees. In the art club, Mizuki is requested as a model, so Subaru and the unknown student start drawing her. However, Mizuki's pose is somewhat strange to see, and Subaru teases her about it. Because of this, Mizuki starts encouraging the unknown student, which seems to awaken feelings in him. However, this completely distracts him. Time is up, and as expected from Subaru, he draws something completely different. Meanwhile, the unknown student doesn't even draw anything visible, so Subaru ends up winning. Mizuki tries to console the unknown student, but this makes him blush even more, and he ends up running away. The club president is taking a nap in the school courtyard. However, he wakes up when he sees a shadow. It's Mocha. The club president is concerned about how a little girl ended up there. He tells her that her parents would worry about her, but then we find out that Mocha doesn't have a father. This leaves the club president in silence. He decides to buy Mocha something to drink. He notices that Mocha has a sketchbook and wants to see her drawings, but Mocha clarifies that her drawings are only for her grandfather, who works at the school. The club president decides to take Mocha to the teacher's lounge. On the way, we learn that Mocha does have a father. He's just at work, and we had simply misunderstood what she said. Since the club president isn't in class, they must sneak through the school silently. Mocha plays along, but it's useless because Yumeko notices them. The journey to the teacher's lounge is long, so in the meantime, the club president shows Mocha around, and somehow, they grow closer, like siblings. They finally reach the teacher's lounge, but they meet Professor Koyama, who turns out to be Mocha's grandfather. Koyama scolds Mocha for leaving without telling anyone. Both her father and mother were worried about her. This makes Mocha sad, and she apologizes for not thinking about what she did. The club president steps in and shows Koyama Mocha's sketchbook. Koyama looks at the drawings and praises Mocha. He also tells her to show them to the club president. This way, Mocha learns that the person who helped her is the president of the art club, the one she wants to join when she grows up. Somehow, everything ends well. The president of the club tells Mizuki and Subaru about what happened with Professor Koyama and his granddaughter, even showing them a photo. However, upon seeing the photo, he realizes that the girl is Mocha, the same one they helped when she got lost. During a ceremony, we see that Mizuki and Subaru are being congratulated, seemingly because they helped Mocha when she was lost. Returning to the art club, we see that several boxes are in disarray and the culprit is Subaru, as he cannot find the paint he wants, leading Mizuki to scold him. Just then, Sayaka arrives at the club, coming on behalf of the journalism club, wanting to interview Mizuki and Subaru about Mocha. Mizuki is the only one who accepts, and after a long interview, Sayaka says goodbye. Just as Sayaka leaves, a teacher named Takeda arrives, recommending that Mizuki run for the student council. However, Mizuki does not intend to do so, but the teacher's insistence is is so strong that she cannot refuse. The next day, Takeda continues insisting that Mizuki join the student council, but Mizuki does not know how to refuse, especially since she also has to finish a painting for the upcoming art contest. Just then, an announcement is made calling Mizuki to the teacher's room. Mizuki gathers the courage to refuse, but Subaru knows she will not be strong enough to say no. Just as Mizuki leaves, Sayaka arrives with the news article she obtained from Mizuki. When Subaru reads the article, he decides to do something for Mizuki since she seems to have said something important. Meanwhile, Mizuki is unable to say no to Takeda, and things get even worse when the teacher has already filled out the application form for Mizuki. However, Subaru suddenly enters. Mizuki thinks he has come to help her, but instead, Subaru scolds her for not completing her drawing for the contest. This makes it clear that Subaru is helping Mizuki in his own way, even though Takeda thinks drawing is very simple. But Subaru will not accept a no from Mizuki, which finally makes her decide to refuse the student council position. Outside the teacher's room, Mizuki asks Subaru why he came for her, to which Subaru replies that he cannot find the right colors for his drawings. However, in the end, we understand that Subaru helped Mizuki because of what she said about him in the interview, that he is a good person and very perceptive of others. Colette and Subaru are arguing in the club when Yumeko suddenly arrives, appearing very angry. This is how we learn that Subaru and Colette received terrible grades on their recent exams. While they expected this from Colette, they did not expect it from Subaru at all. Subaru explains that he had a very important reason for not studying, saying that the anime season was so good that he could not miss a single episode. Since Yumeko is very angry and the club is an extension of their classes, she strictly prohibits everything related to manga and superheroes until the upcoming special exams are over, making it clear that they will have to study a lot. Mizuki simply wishes them good luck, but her attitude changes when she hears that if Subaru fails, he will be sent to an academy and will have to leave the art club. With that in mind, Mizuki suggests that they study at her house over the weekend since her parents will not be there, though she has other thoughts in mind. Inside the house, to everyone's surprise, the club president is actually a student with good grades. However, Mizuki is the one in charge of the studying since the club president keeps falling asleep. They face some problems with Colette and Subaru's books, but manage to handle them, spending hours in joint study until night falls. We see that Subaru is exhausted, and since the sofa is occupied by the club president, he has no choice but to sleep in Mizuki's room. Subaru falls asleep instantly, and Mizuki feels the urge to get closer, even to kiss him, but instead, she just places something on his face as a joke. After studying with Colette for a while, Mizuki has to wake Subaru up. However, to avoid any misunderstandings and because she is embarrassed, she sends Colette to wake him up instead. After some time, Mizuki notices that Colette and Subaru are taking too long, so she goes to check and finds Colette asleep next to Subaru. After waking them up, they continue studying until the next day, leaving them ready for the special exam. At school, Yumeko proudly shows Professor Koyama the test scores of her students, feeling proud that they put in the effort. In class, Kaori is determined to help Mizuki because Maria is about to take Subaru away. She even has proof and shows it to Ryoko and Sayaka. However, they do not see anything wrong between Maria and Subaru, but Kaori thinks differently. She is convinced that Maria is not a good match for Subaru and that Mizuki is the perfect one for him, so she starts following Maria. Kaori follows Maria from the moment she leaves school, though her spying methods are very obvious, so much so that she ends up tripping and hurting herself. When Maria notices, she takes Kaori somewhere to treat her wounds, and they start talking. Kaori tries not to reveal her identity, but Maria already knows who she is. Because of this, Kaori tries to deny her connection to Mizuki. Maria then starts talking about Mizuki's good qualities and how much she values her as a friend. Kaori remains silent, but her stomach gives her away, so Maria gives her some food to ease her hunger before leaving. However, it starts to rain, so Maria gives Kaori her umbrella to shield her from the rain. At school, Kaori now sees Maria in a completely different light, saying that she is a good person and will probably not do anything bad in the future. At school, the school festival is approaching. Yumeko is very excited and asks Professor Koyama about what the art club did last year. Koyama responds that the club did nothing since they only focus on competitions. This annoys Yumeko because the school festival is part of a student's youth and the members of the art club cannot miss out on that. Therefore, she sets the goal of finding an activity for the art club. In the art club, the students are drawing and hanging out. We see that Yumeko is also in the club, but she is collecting many empty cans. No one knows why she is doing it, but Yumeko seems very focused on it. Mizuki and Subaru want to ask her why she is collecting cans, but they feel it would be wrong to ask, so Colette directly asks about the cans. Yumeko explains that she is collecting cans for an art club activity called Art with Empty Cans, which consists of making figures or monuments with the cans. This could be an interesting activity for the students during the school festival. The idea sounds interesting and Mizuki is willing to participate, but Subaru is more focused on drawing his 2D wives. However, upon seeing Yumeko sad and disappointed, he basically agrees to participate. With the can activity decided, they need an idea of what figure to make. Subaru suggests making a waifu, and Colette suggests making a superhero, but both ideas are rejected. After much thinking, they do not come up with any good ideas, so they go home for the moment. At home, Mizuki tries to think of what to do for the school festival and comes up with an interesting idea. Back at school, Mizuki's class also has an activity to do, but Mizuki must go to her club since she has an idea of what they can make. At the club, Maria arrives looking for Colette. Maria notices Mizuki's idea and thinks it needs to be flashier, something Mizuki also considers. Maria gives an idea, but Mizuki does not understand it. Just then, Subaru arrives, who understands Maria and suggests that paint can come out of the figure they will make. With this, Mizuki gets to work on the design. The club president and Colette bring all the materials to the club, while Subaru adds the finishing touches to the design. We even see that Maria is helping. The work begins and everyone is working, but they are basically doing the same thing since there are only 5 people for 300 cans. This starts to bore the club president, who falls asleep, but they wake him up by force. Finally, they have the cans cleaned, so it is time for assembly. However, over the following days, they realize they do not have enough cans, so Maria goes to get more from the storage room. Just then, a teacher named Moroboshi passes by and sees Maria carrying many cans. Moroboshi thinks it is trash. Mizuki leaves home early since they are close to finishing the sculpture. At the club, as Colette and Subaru start playing around, they crush some already made cans. Colette is scared that she has ruined something. Just then, Yumeko arrives with a serious face. Colette thinks it is because she ruined some cans, but Yumeko's seriousness is for another reason. We learn that all the cans were thrown away, specifically 200 cans. Yumeko feels guilty because she did not notify in advance about the cans and the art club's activity. Subaru and Mizuki console her, saying they will find a solution. Just then, the club president wakes up and suggests they use something else, like buying drinks from the supermarket and selling them at school. That way, they would still respect their recycling ideology, which is the basis of their activity. Mizuki and Subaru understand, so they get to work. Colette spreads the word throughout the school. Mizuki takes care of customer service and selling the drinks, and Subaru handles the cans. However, we see that Mizuki cannot handle customer service alone, so Colette and Maria arrive to help with the sales. Meanwhile, Yumeko also wanted to help with sales, but she had 2 big reasons that prevented her from doing so. However, she finds another way to help. We see that sales are going well with the help of the girls. Out of nowhere, the mysterious student appears again and challenges Subaru. This time, the challenge is about who can drink a canned beverage the fastest. But in the middle of the competition, Yumeko arrives dressed as a cat, which causes the mysterious student to spill his drink, making Subaru the winner. We see that the mysterious student flees once again. Just then, Professor Moroboshi arrives, bringing cans for the students because he felt guilty for throwing away all their cans. The sale of drinks and can collection is going very well. Everyone at school buys drinks, and we see all the characters from the series appear to support the art club's cause. With the cans collected, we see the art club start making their figure. They even stay until very late to finish it. Finally, the day of the school festival arrives. We see that the figure is finally complete, but a big problem arises. The idea was to display the figure in the gymnasium, but they do not know how to move it there, so they dismantle it into pieces to transport it to the gymnasium. Thanks to the photos Mizuki's mom took, we see that the students' school festival was a complete success. It is a rainy day at school. Mizuki is carrying several notebooks, and on her way, she encounters Maria, who cannot go home because she did not bring an umbrella. Mizuki offers to give her umbrella to Maria so she can return home, as Mizuki has tasks to do and will stay late, assuming the rain will have stopped by then, though the weather forecast says otherwise. Maria kindly refuses, and just then, Colette sends a message informing Maria that they can go back together. Mizuki continues on her way and comes across Colette, who is wearing a raincoat and heading towards Maria. Just as Colette leaves, Subaru is also heading home and sees Mizuki carrying many things. Subaru offers to help her, but Mizuki refuses, saying that Maria needs help and asking Subaru to go back and share the umbrella with Maria. Subaru has no problem with this, but Mizuki realizes too late that sharing an umbrella is something romantic. Mizuki delivers the task assigned by Professor Takeda. She is about to finish, but Professor Takeda asks her to handle a few more things. While completing the tasks, she receives a message from Kaori, saying that she will take Mizuki's umbrella since she forgot hers. Mizuki says no, but Kaori is faster and outside. The rain is getting worse. With no other choice, Mizuki continues with her errands, but there is still no sign of the rain stopping. Mizuki reaches the exit and does not find an umbrella, but she does find Subaru, who has been waiting for her. Mizuki does not understand what happened, and Subaru explains that he was looking for Maria, but Maria had already gotten completely wet on her way home, and Colette went with her. Additionally, the reason Subaru stayed was that Kaori took Mizuki's umbrella and left Mizuki in Subaru's care. However, Kaori's umbrella is seen nearby, hinting that it was Kaori's plan all along. But when Mizuki sees Subaru's umbrella, all the romantic tension disappears. In the end, Mizuki was able to return home alongside Subaru. Mizuki clearly remembers what happened with Subaru yesterday in the rain. Subaru wanted to tell her something but could not say it, which intrigues Mizuki. Suddenly, we see Ryoko and Sayaka next to Mizuki, and even Kaori is with them. They all find out that Mizuki shared an umbrella with Subaru. Despite this, there is no significant progress between Subaru and Mizuki, but Mizuki has no problem with that. At school, Sayaka mentions that next year students generally do not have time for clubs because the exam period is more intense, implying that Mizuki is running out of time with Subaru. While walking down the school hallway, Mizuki hears Maria's voice. We see Subaru with her, and by accident, Mizuki overhears Subaru saying that he is in love with Mizuki. Maria understands, as Mizuki is very cute and sweet, so she advises Subaru to confess to Mizuki quickly. Mizuki cannot process the information she just heard. Just then, Yumeko and Colette arrive, informing her that the Tinkin sculpture they made won second place in a public art contest, congratulating Mizuki for her effort, which led to the win. Mizuki realizes she must put effort into her feelings as well. At the art club, Mizuki arrives first, and shortly after, Subaru arrives. Mizuki feels that something is about to happen because Subaru wants to tell her something. Subaru clarifies that he has fallen in love and pulls out a picture of a bunny girl whose name is exactly the same as Mizuki's. Mizuki finally puts the clues together and realizes that from the beginning, everything was a misunderstanding on her part. Subaru asks Mizuki for a favor. Since the character he is in love with has the same surname as Mizuki, he wants to call Mizuki by her first name, as if they were close. Mizuki does not know what to say because it is so sudden, so Subaru leaves and asks her to think about it. Just then, we see the club president come out from behind the couch and clarify to Mizuki that she needs to make progress with Subaru because next year, the club president will no longer be there and both Mizuki and Subaru will not have time to attend the art club. The club president's words resonate with Mizuki. Even at home, she does not know what to do or think. However, after chatting with her friends, she decides what she will do. Mizuki prepares to go to school again, and now we see a determined look on her face. On her way, she spots Subaru in the distance, so Mizuki runs to meet him and greets him. Mizuki makes it clear to him that he cannot call her by her first name, at least not yet. To everyone's surprise, Subaru is fine with that. We learn that Subaru quickly forgot about the bunny girl because in the anime she appeared in, it was revealed that she had a boyfriend. Subaru is somehow devastated, but he seems fine, as he believes the perfect wife can simply be drawn by him. Thus, we see that Mizuki has no problem continuing to live the life they have now.